All right, welcome back, everybody. Anybody that's new here, thanks for joining me today. I know those of you guys that subscribed, it's been a while. Like I said before in any of the other videos on DWS Cooks Everything, if you're new here, this is DWS Cooks Everything. I have like 5 channels. I got DWS Outdoors as my main channel, and then I have a couple other ones. They'll be listed below. But yeah, one of the things I wanted to do with this channel was basically not just fill it with full of like fluff and just like, I don't know, just filler videos. I could be doing this every day because I cook a lot, and you should too. But one of the things that I wanted to do is one of the days that I fried fish, because if you guys have been following me from DWS Outdoors, one of the things that I've always been asked is to do like catch and cooks on DWS Outdoors, and it's just one of those things. I'm driving so much, I'm doing so much things, but long story short, I almost never have time to like film a fishing video, an outdoors video, and a cooking video, because this is like a production. So I'm going to help everybody out that's watching this video right now, and I'm going to try and make this as simple as possible. It's not the cheapest version of fried fish, but I think personally it's one of the better versions. And I've been trying to master this whole like crispy, crunchy fish thing for a very, 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 very long time. And yeah, I'm going to go over all of these guys, all the ingredients and kind of the amounts that we're going to go through. And yeah, hopefully it helps you guys the next time you want to make your own fried fish. Okay, so we're going to go over this real simple, real quick. I don't want to waste a bunch of your guys' time. Like I said, this isn't the cheapest version, and this is just one version of it. You can modify it however you want, and if you guys want me to do a couple of the other versions of fried fish that I do, I will go over that. So, things you will need. You're going to need some regular flour. Now, I don't measure stuff. A lot of times, this is just by years and years and years of mixing stuff together. So, the main mixture here, and you'll understand why I'm calling it the main mixture, is going to start with flour. And I'm just going to do this how I would cook, because this is really complicated for me otherwise. So this is what I'm going to toss the fish in at the end. And then I'm going to take a couple pieces of flour here. And this is for the beginning. So I'm just going through this like I said how I would. I don't want to overcomplicate it for myself. I have about a dozen fillets to do, so I got to make sure I have the right amount of stuff. And like I said, I've never filmed this whole scenario, but I'm gonna talk you through it, and then I'm gonna go through the rest of this. I just wanted to get that done before my brain had just stopped working. Okay, so one thing you're going to need, cornstarch. The next thing you're going to need is some cornmeal, regular yellow cornmeal. I like Kikkoman's Panko breadcrumbs. You just need some Panko breadcrumbs. Some kind of seasoning. So today I'm just going to make basically lemon pepper flavored ones, and that's just something that I like. That's like a go-to, real simple, keep it simple. And then obviously flour. So let me go through. I'm going to switch cameras here so I can just use both hands. I'm using one hand at a time, and that's making it very hard for me. But yeah, let's go through the amounts of things, how I'm going to put things together here, and then how to go through the process of like start to finish. And the reason I'm doing all this right now and you don't see any of the fish, currently letting that thaw out. So that's 14 crappie fillets. And they're not giant crappie fillets, but when you got 14 of them, you're going to need at least a minimum of what I'm doing here. If you only had like, I don't know, like 12 or 10 fillets, you can probably go with a whole lot less than what I'm using right now. But yeah, let me switch cameras here, and we'll go hands-free, and then we'll go through each one thing that I'm putting together. I almost forgot. So I'm going to be using vegetable oil today. You're going to want some kind of strainer, so that you can make your fish not oily. You're going to need a thermometer. If you do this right, you'll have a thermometer. And then I will tell you right now, so this little red thing is where you want to stop at. So I go between 355 and 375 for my oil temps. Make sure you check your flash points on your frying oil before you decide to do this. Most of them are at 375, so that's a real simple thing. And then you're going to want a set of tongs. And then I will go over what these are for when I'm doing it, but this is where I put my fish when I'm done frying them. I'm going to fry them in a pot because it keeps the mess down. Anybody who's ever fried fish understands that if you do it in a pan, it makes a big mess. And then this pan specifically is going to be for setting the fish on that I'm getting ready. So the trick here is you get all of your fish ready first. So you bread them all, and then you start frying them. Don't try to do it in like a race because you'll always screw it up. Trust me, I've done it a million times. Okay, one more thing you're going to need is a spoon. Or a fork, it's up to you, but I like using a spoon because it gives me the opportunity to kind of measure things out. You know, you use the same spoon over and over again, you kind of get used to it. Okay, so I like to call this the pre-breading, and then this is going to have milk in it. I'm not pouring that in there until those are thawed out because I don't want my milk just sitting out warm or whatever. And then I ended up with about, I think that was like, I forgot what the size of these are. This is actually from my my protein powder, but I used about 6 of these scoops to get that. So it's probably close to like 3 cups, two or 3 cups of just straight flour. Now the trick here is I did about 2 scoops of flour in there already. I'm gonna do like 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to mix that up really good. So that's 3 scoops of cornstarch. So the 3 scoops of cornstarch from, this is a tablespoon, so it's an extra large spoon. Okay, so that's ready. That's the beginning of everything. So, like I said, I will, once the fish are thawed out, I'm going to go over how I bread them and like how I prepare everything. But right now, this is just getting everything like ready. So that's ready. Don't worry, I'm going to mix that up really good with a whisk or my spoon, or I have a lid for it. One thing, this is a big tip. So this is a fast food container. I don't know if you guys can tell. I saved one of these because fillets fit in there perfectly. So if you just want to do like one walleye fillet, or like these are crappie fillets and they're not very big, you can do probably 2 of them at a time for your thing, but it keeps the mess down greatly. So keep your fast food containers, and they make great mixing bowls. But anyways, let's get back on track here. So this has the cornstarch in it. This is just flour right now. So when I go to measure things out, I'm gonna do my panko first. And like I said, this isn't like if you guys are looking for like Betty Crocker, that ain't me. So I'm just gonna take some panko. I know how many fish there are there. Like I said, this is going to be one of those things that you just become better and better at this the more you play with it and the more you eyeball it. So I'm going to pour about, I would say, I don't know, what do you guys think? Probably I just poured about 2 cups, maybe 1.5 cups of panko in there. And only reason I'm using so much flour and panko, and you'll see cornmeal, is because I'm not using a pre-made mix. Otherwise, if I was using a pre-made mix, that would be what's going in there. So now I'm going to take my cornmeal. I'm going to try to match around the top half of what this is. So probably right around 1 cup. And that's plenty. So now I have like half of a Tupperware container of like just plain breading. So now you're going to season this to taste. So this is never going to be exactly the way you want it. I like things a little saltier and spicy. So technically I could add some like paprika or like chili powder or something like that. But I'm just going to go with a lemon, onion powder, and garlic powder. So lemon pepper, so there's lemon and pepper, and then onion and garlic powder. Very, very simple. And I'm going to add it as much as I think I need to make it taste appropriately once it's mixed in. You want a good even distribution. You don't want like too much. You'll know right away if you did too much. But the thing is you don't want to go so little that you're just eating bread on fish, basically. But a light seasoning goes a long way, so I'm going to get that seasoned right now. Okay, so for about half a container, I did about a half a cup. So that's about a half a cup of the lemon pepper, and then I'm just gonna accent it with my my garlic because I like garlic. So I'm not gonna do a ton of it, but enough. And then same thing, onion powder. I like a little bit of onion powder mixed in with my different seasonings. A lot of times I use these guys as almost a base to start with. Okay, so, and then here's the trick. The reason I put it in a Tupperware is I'm going to take that and shake it up really good. So make sure you spin it in all different kinds of directions, and then there's your other trick. Do that at the end, give it a second to settle, and now I can look at it, and I don't know if you guys can see that, but you can kind of see with like the pepper, there's just little bits of pepper and lemon, you know, really nicely spread out between that. I might even add just a little bit more lemon pepper, but that looks like a good mix to me, and I mean that's mixed in really well. Another way you can check is kind of scoop, and then you can see the coloration of it. You don't want this to be dark because of the amount of pepper you put in there, because there's lemon, and that'll be way too strong for just a couple small fillets. Okay, so the big thing here, now that I've got all of my breading mixed up, I'm still letting my fish thaw out. You should probably do that well beforehand, is I make sure everything's ready. So this is going to be where I put the breaded fish. So after I bread them, I put them here, and then you have this out and ready. So that sits across both burners. And then the big thing here, I'm going to stress this, and I've learned this the hard way by burning my food when burning oil. Do not pour your oil in and start heating it until you are almost done breading your fish. So I'm going to bread my fish, and then once I'm most of the way breaded, I will have oil in here, but then, like, as I'm getting through the breaded fish, I will turn this on, I will put my thermometer in there, and I will check it every like 2 or 3 fish as I'm breading, so that by the time I'm done breading my fish, this oil should be hot enough. And the big thing here is if you try to like turn it on and like try to like turn it down and like all that fun stuff, oil is one of those things that it does not cool quickly, and sometimes it actually continues heating up after you turn it off. So that's something that I've learned over the years, is just do not start the oil until you are done breading the fish. And then, like I said, I have to wait for the rest of those to thaw out right now. But once they are thawed out, I will go over how to bread them, how to get them just right, and we're going to have some really good golden crispy fish fillets when we're done here. Okay, so now we got them all thawed out. Like I was saying before, these are just a simple crappie fillet. You can do this any fish, doesn't matter what it is. But if you're trying to do this same thing with like the size of this is, you're going to want a smaller piece of fillet. So if you have like a big walleye or some big piece of tilapia or something you want to deep fry, and you're trying to toss it a lot easier and keep it really manageable and cooking fast, this is what you're going to want to do, is have smaller pieces like this. But these are just naturally small. So one of the things that a lot of people like to do in the fish frying world is they'll soak their fish in some kind of binder. Me personally, I have found that it's simple. Put it in the water. So this is the cornmeal and just flour. So I'm going to take it out, put it in there. Normally, and I forgot I have them, I have these little tongs, so picking them up and put them in there, I'm not getting my hand dirty. So I always have a paper towel around. But one of the things, the reason I like this, you'll see, is hopefully I don't make you guys seasick here. But I'm going to take that, take a dry hand. So I always have a wet hand and a dry hand. That's kind of how I pay attention to how I'm doing this stuff. But this is how simple this is. Get a good, nice coating on there if you feel like it needs more. Like I think some of the cracks didn't get filled in, but nice and pre-coated. I'm gonna take it. So I filled this up with milk now. Drop it in there. I have a fork because the easiest way to pull a fillet out of here is with a fork, not tongs, not anything else. So take your fork, set that back in there, put it in the final breading mixture. Take this and do not just start pounding this thing. Do a light little shake, and I'll show you why. So see, there's still like a wet spot there. I don't know if you guys can see that really well with the lighting, but you just try to get it to coat up like that first, and then, so I wouldn't take that apart normally, but then I get a really good vigorous shake. I go in, and like I said, so dry ingredients hand powdery, wet ingredients hand wet. Keep this one out of the dry stuff. So I'm going to go in there. I'm going to find my fillet, turn it over. So it's got one side down, turn it over. Usually, for whatever reason, that downside doesn't get breading the way you need it to. You know, you want it to coat all those wet spots where the milk went. So, and there you go. So then you take that, lay it on your cookie sheet that's off to the side, and repeat until you are done, and then turn this on. So I haven't put anything in there yet, and hopefully you guys can see that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put just enough oil in there to put a fillet under, so for deep frying. You don't need to fill this thing way up. That would be a complete waste of oil. You only need like an inch or two, maybe 2.5 inches deep when you're filling a pot like this. So a tall, skinny pot works great for deep frying things, and then by keeping it down in there, the splatter stays in here versus all over here. So I'm going to pour some of that in there, but I'm not going to turn it on yet, and then when I turn it on, I'll show you what I'm going to do next. So I'm going to go through these. It's going to take me a little bit of time. I think there was like 14 fillets, and then you'll see them when I'm done with them. I have them all lined up on here, and we'll go from there. After doing a few, I just want to make sure that I show everybody kind of how I do this. So I have the tongs, and I'm going to let it drip dry a little bit. It doesn't have to drip completely off. I'm going to lay that in there. You try to make sure that powder is nice and flat. Shake it up a little bit. Make sure this is on there good so you don't make a mess when you do. You don't have to shake this one to death. You're just trying to get it to go on top of it. And then I do this little tap thing. It seems to help settle the powder. And then, so I'm going to get my fingers underneath there and kind of work that stuff off. So that way, all the extra is off of there. And you're going to take that, set it in there. You're going to take the fork, find the end of the fillet. That usually helps to grab it. Let it drip dry a little bit. And then, like I said, you try to get some of the powder over the top of it before you even close it, or you can do it if you're used to it with it closed, and then you just continue working it. But you don't need to pound it around until you know it's coated, so like you can look through it. Now I can go and do that, uncover it. You can see that it's completely buried. There's a little piece of it sticking out. And something I forgot to say before is I will push down, then run my hands down the side there, flip it over, and there's a little bit of wet spot. I still don't understand why the bottom doesn't take it, but you push a little bit over the top, pack it down, go back in and grab it again, try to get the end piece, shake all the extra off, just lightly shake the extra off, and then you place it on the pan with the other ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've done 5 of them so far, but yeah, I wanted to go over those little nuance things because I knew as I started to do it I would miss something. So hopefully you guys learned something from that, and then let's go into the next step. Okay, so I'm down to like the last 2. As you guys can see, I've just been layering them on top of each other lightly. Make sure you don't stick them right on top of each other, because a lot of times they will stick to each other and peel the breading off. You got to kind of just lightly lay them down. And then since I've gotten that far, I've put, I don't know if you guys can see that, it's about probably 1.25 inches, not even, of oil, because these fillets are not that thick. They're 1/2 inch thick, not even 1/4 inch thick. So because they're so thin, you don't need to have gallons of oil. And then, so like I said, so what you're going to do, you're going to take a thermometer and you're going to set it in there. So it's not just resting on the bottom. This clips to the little lip on your stuff. And then what you're doing is you're going to wait till this gets up to here. One of the things, I don't know how many of you guys have, I believe this is a frigid air stove. So between the 5 and the 4 on the biggest burner, that setting, so like right there, middle of that, tends to be right in that 350 to 375 range. You might have to turn it down to 4 if it's, a really powerful stove, but I've found between 5 and 4 is like right in the right temp. But I'm going to finish breading those now, but basically because I'm done, I can get this started, and it'll take a little bit of time to get it up there, but you want to catch that right at 375. You don't want it sitting there forever when you go to start frying your fish. Okay, so those are all done. That's up there. Gonna take that out. One thing I'm gonna let everybody know. So dry hand, I never clean this off from the powder because it allows me to pick these up and set them in there. And I'm gonna do, because of the size of them, I'm just gonna do 2 at a time. That's simple. And one thing, like I said, you want to pay attention to is when you're putting fish in, when you're frying something, it will cool it down a little bit. So it never hurts to keep the thermometer around and keep an eye on your temps. So, every once in a while you stick it in there. I don't know if you can see that. So I had that up at the red arrow. Now it's just coming back down. But one of the things I do is I'll actually stir and flip my fillets. So a lot of people put a timer on this stuff. I've just been doing this long enough that as I'm going, hopefully you guys can hear me, as I'm going, I'll cook them one side for like a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes, especially when they're thin. But you can see them already getting golden, and you don't want it to be burnt. So I just do one flip at like a minute and a half. And then I will let those cook for that next minute and a half or whatever. And then I'll take them out and I'll show you guys what I'm going to do with them. Okay, so it's been long enough. Like I said, they're pretty thin. They cook really fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab them with my tongs, check them, flip them once, make sure that they're adequately cooked on both sides. And then the reason I have this basket is it's not to pick it up, because this isn't a giant deep fryer. What it is for is I like to pick them up, let them drain a little bit, and do this at your own discretion, because you could start a fire if you decided to drop one of these guys. But so I'll take them, drain them, put 2 up there, and then this basket actually sits pretty magically right there. And yeah, like I said, do that at your own risk. But I will leave those sitting up there. I'm going to throw 2 more in again, do the same thing, and then this right now has both of these on low. That's going to become my hot plate, so that'll keep all of these nice and warm, toasty, and not soggy until you're ready to eat them. So I'm going to get through these, and yeah, I'll show you what happens when they're done. And that is what you should have when you're all done. You got 12 really crunchy, yummy fillets. Okay, now that is what I call a good crispy fish dinner. Okay, so that is what you want to end up with. And I make homemade tartar sauce. If you guys want a quick little tutorial on homemade tartar sauce to go with it, I'll try to do that for you. But yeah, that's really good. Like, perfect. I'm so glad I've taken the time to do that. So hopefully today's video help you guys make some nice crunchy homemade fried fish. Anytime you want a fish fry, make it yourself. So remember, I'm not going to be putting out videos every day of the week. This isn't that channel. This channel is basically just to make sure that you guys get a chance to make some really good food at home and you don't have to go out and spend a bunch of money to do it. Remember, if you subscribe to DWS Outdoors, I appreciate that, but if you subscribe to this channel, I think I appreciate it even more because this one's not going to be consistent. But hopefully you enjoyed the food that we make, and yeah, go out and play with your food some more.